Hey everyone, it is me again, ready to chat about some of the wild rides I've been on with money, especially in my 20s. Back then, I thought I was hot stuff, fresh out of college, ready to conquer the world and make some serious cash. Little did I know, the world of investing was about to hand me my backside on a silver platter. I came from a pretty average family, nothing fancy, so the idea of getting rich quick was incredibly appealing. I saw all these headlines, heard all these whispers about people making fortunes overnight, and I thought, why not me? I was young, I had some savings from part-time jobs, and I was hungry for success. That hunger, though, it often tasted like financial disaster. My early 20s were a blur of chasing every hot tip, every trending stock, every flashy new investment scheme that promised insane returns. I was the poster child for blind ambition, completely oblivious to the fundamentals, the risks, or even the basic common sense of investing. I remember putting a significant chunk of my savings into some obscure penny stock because a guy on an online forum swore it was going to the moon. Spoiler alert, it went straight into the ground, taking my money with it. It was like I had a giant target on my back for every scam artist and every overhyped opportunity out there. I was naive, I was arrogant, and I paid a steep price for it. One of my biggest lessons came from short-term speculation. I thought I could outsmart the market, predicting every dip and every rise ID. Buy something, convince myself it was going up, and then panic sell the moment it showed any sign of a downturn. This constant buying and selling, often based on pure emotion and not on any sound analysis, led to significant losses. I was essentially donating my money to transaction fees and the people on the other side of my frantic trades. I remember one particular week, I was so convinced a certain tech stock was about to explode, I poured a huge chunk of my remaining capital into it. For a day or two, it looked promising, and I was already mentally spending my future riches. Then, a minor news report came out, nothing really substantial, but the stock dipped slightly. My heart pounded, my stomach dropped, I immediately sold, locking in a small loss, only to watch the stock rebound spectacularly the very next day. That feeling of watching all that potential profit vanish, knowing it was my own impatience and fear that caused it, that was a truly painful wake-up call. And then there were the outright scams. Oh, the scams. I fell for a few, I am embarrassed to admit. One involved a supposed high-yield investment platform that promised daily returns that were frankly too good to be true, but I wanted to believe, I desperately wanted to believe. They had a slick website, professional-looking marketing materials, and even testimonials. I put in a smaller amount first, and sure enough, I saw those daily returns pop up in my account. This gave me false confidence. I then put in a much larger sum, thinking I had found my golden ticket. Of course, within a week, the website disappeared, the contact email bounced, and my money, well, it was gone. Just like that. The humiliation was almost as bad as the financial loss. It taught me a very hard lesson about due diligence and skepticism, especially when something sounds unbelievably good. Another major pitfall was my complete disregard for risk management. I'd go all in on a single stock or a single type of investment, convinced it was a sure thing. Diversification was a foreign concept to me. I thought it was for cautious, boring investors, not for someone like me who was going to get rich quick. I remember hearing about a new cryptocurrency that was gaining traction, and instead of allocating a small percentage of my portfolio to it, I threw a massive portion of my savings into it. I was convinced it was the next Bitcoin. The value soared for a short period, and I felt like a genius, but then as quickly as it rose, it crashed. And because I had so much riding on it, the crash wiped out a huge chunk of my net worth. It was a brutal lesson in not putting all your eggs in one basket, a lesson I learned the absolute hardest way possible. Emotional trading was also my kryptonite. My investment decisions were often driven by excitement when things were going well or panic when they weren't. I'd get swept up in the hype, buying into things at their peak, convinced they would go even higher. Then, at the first sign of trouble, I'd sell in a frenzy, often at the absolute bottom. It was a vicious cycle of buying high and selling low, essentially the opposite of what you were supposed to do. My mind was a battlefield of fear and greed, and unfortunately greed usually won until fear took over and forced me into bad decisions. I was completely unanchored, swayed by every market fluctuation and every piece of news, regardless of its actual significance. Looking back, it is clear I accumulated a laundry list of investment failures, short-term speculation losses, falling prey to outright scams, neglecting risk management by going all in on risky ventures, and letting my emotions dictate every single trade. These weren't minor missteps, they were monumental errors that collectively cost me a significant amount of my hard-earned savings. The money I had painstakingly saved from odd jobs, part-time gigs, and frugal living throughout my late teens and early 20s, it all vanished. It felt like I had thrown away years of effort and sacrifice. The financial sting was real, but the emotional toll was perhaps even greater. I felt like a complete failure, a fool who had squandered his chances. It was after hitting rock bottom, after seeing my savings account dwindle to almost nothing, that I finally had my wake-up call. The pain of those losses was so profound that it forced me to stop, to reflect, and to completely reevaluate my approach to money and investing. The dream of getting rich quick had been shattered, replaced by the stark reality of my financial blunders. I realized that my previous approach was not just unsustainable, it was self-destructive. I was chasing fantasies instead of building a solid foundation. This turning point was crucial for me. I finally understood that true financial stability and growth don't come from luck or chasing fleeting trends. They come from knowledge, discipline, and a long-term perspective. I started devouring every book, article, and reputable resource I could find on personal finance and investing. I learned about index funds, diversification, asset allocation, and most importantly, the power of compound interest. I learned about understanding my own risk tolerance, about setting realistic goals, and about the importance of patience. I realized that investing is about getting rich overnight. It is about steadily building wealth over time. I completely shifted my mindset from a desire for fast money to a focus on slow and steady wins the race. I embraced a philosophy of long-term, low-cost investing, prioritizing steady growth over speculative gambles. I started building an emergency fund, something I had previously dismissed as unnecessary. I began contributing regularly to retirement accounts, understanding that consistency was far more important than trying to time the market. My focus moved from trying to beat the market to simply participating in its long-term growth. It wasn't exciting, it was glamorous, but it was effective, and it gave me a sense of control and peace I had never experienced before. Now, my approach to money is completely different. I no longer chase high-flying stocks or get caught up in the latest investment craze. I've become a big proponent of conservative, diversified portfolios. My investment strategy is built around principles of risk mitigation and long-term growth. I focus on understanding what I'm investing in rather than just following the crowd. I prioritize saving and investing regularly, regardless of market conditions. I've learned that consistency and discipline are far more powerful than any hot tip or speculative bet. The good news is, I've managed to claw my way back from those earlier losses. It took time, patience, and a lot of hard work. But I've rebuilt my savings, and I am now on a much more secure financial footing. My goal now is not to become a millionaire overnight, but to achieve financial independence and security through smart, sensible decisions. I am no longer doing aggressive, high-risk investing. Instead, I embrace a balanced approach that aligns with my long-term goals and my newfound understanding of risk. That is why I started this channel, to share my story, my mistakes, and the lessons I've learned so that hopefully others in their 20s can avoid the financial pain I went through. I want to be that voice of experience, the person who says, hey, I messed up big time, and here is what I learned, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. My focus is on helping young people develop a foundational understanding of personal finance, to cultivate a healthy money mindset, and to build a secure financial future from the ground up. My content is all about demystifying personal finance, breaking down complex topics into simple, understandable terms. I want to show you how to avoid common investment traps, how to spot financial scams a mile away, and how to build a resilient financial plan that works for you. I'll be sharing practical tips on budgeting, saving, investing for the long term, and protecting your money. Think of this as a practical guide to navigating the financial landscape based on real-world experience, not just theoretical concepts. I believe it is incredibly important for young people to understand the basics of money management early on. The sooner you start, the more time compounding has to work its magic, and the more resilient you'll be to life's inevitable financial challenges. My hope is to equip you with the knowledge and confidence to make smart financial decisions, to avoid the pitfalls I encountered, and to build a future where you have control over your money, rather than your money controlling you. This isn't about selling you anything or promoting any specific product. It is about empowering you with knowledge and a realistic perspective. I am not a financial advisor, just a regular guy who learned some very expensive lessons. What I offer is a candid look at the realities of investing, a healthy dose of self-deprecating humor, and a commitment to helping you avoid the financial headaches I experienced. I want to foster a community where we can openly discuss money, learn from each other, and grow together. So if you are in your 20s, or even if you are just starting your financial journey and you are feeling a bit overwhelmed or confused by the world of money, you are in the right place. Let's explore these topics together, learn from my past mistakes, and build a brighter financial future for ourselves. Remember, it is not about being perfect. It is about being informed, being disciplined, and being patient. Let us make smart choices and avoid those costly financial blunders. My journey was messy, but I hope my lessons can make yours a little smoother.